The Dallas Cowboys are gearing up for a huge clash, and fans everywhere are buzzing about what this matchup means for America's team. The injury report is one of the first things to catch your attention, and right now, there are a handful of names that really stand out. The safety room is under close watch, with Elijah Clark and Donovan Wilson putting in limited work earlier in the week, trying to shake off nagging issues. Solomon Thomas missed the first practice with a calf injury, and his availability is still very much up in the air. He's working to recover from the damage sustained against the Cardinals, and the team is clearly being careful with his minutes. Tyler Smith's injury has been managed, and he should be fine, while newcomers Rebel Overshown and others are expected to make their debuts this year, which is exciting for the depth of the roster. Turning to the Raiders, their injury situation seems relatively stable. Lockett was limited early in the week, but at his stage in the career, that's not a major concern. Dylan Parham is in line to play, which is a solid boost for a Raiders offensive line that has had its struggles. Parham is one of the more reliable pieces up front, and his presence could make a difference when the Cowboys rush to get to the quarterback. Speaking of which, one of the key matchups to watch is at right tackle for Dallas. Terrence Steele and Nathan Thomas could see a rotation if needed, and whoever starts will likely face Max Crosby, one of the top edge rushers in the league. Crosby's numbers are a bit misleading. While his pressure rate has dipped according to next-gen stats, the reality is he's getting double and triple teamed at an unprecedented rate. Over 32% of his rushes this season have involved him being chipped or blocked in combination, which is a career high for him and shows just how much attention he draws on the left side. If Steele starts, he'll need support because the right side of Dallas' line hasn't been the most reliable. Tight ends and running backs helping in protection will be crucial. Leaving Steele or Thomas on an island against Crosby could lead to a very tough afternoon for the Cowboys offense. The matchup with Crosby is something that could define the game, and it's clear that the team will have to plan carefully on who is helping in pass protection, who is picking up the rush, and how the offensive line communicates under pressure. Another fascinating angle to watch is how the Cowboys handle the Raiders' two tight end packages, particularly Brock Bowers. When healthy, Bowers has been a focal point in multiple formations, and the Raiders have leaned heavily on two tight end sets this season, including nearly half of their snaps in 12 personnel packages. How Dallas matches that with 5 defensive linemen or rolls linebackers down, or deploys players like Quinnen, OSA, Kenny Clark, Ezraku, and Clowney could have a massive impact on the outcome. Man coverage versus zone coverage on Bowers is also critical. His numbers in man coverage are elite, with a high target rate, and all his touchdowns coming against single coverage, making him a nightmare matchup for any defense. And when you look at Don Bland and his coverage responsibilities, particularly against a quarterback like Geno Smith, you start to see why this game could hinge on matchups. The Cowboys have run-man coverage nearly 40% of the time in recent weeks, ranking 6th highest in the NFL, and they've been very efficient in those situations, allowing just over 4 yards per dropback. That efficiency in man coverage sets up intriguing questions for the coaching staff, especially about how they adjust against both Bowers and other vertical threats. Speaking of vertical threats, Deontay Thornton is another player to monitor for the Raiders. He is essentially tasked with stretching the field, running downfield routes, and exploiting Dallas' struggles against deep passes. The Cowboys have allowed significant yardage through the air this season, ranking at or near the bottom in multiple passing metrics. Geno Smith hasn't had an exceptional season, but he's capable of finding his receivers deep, and the Cowboys need to ensure that they don't give up big plays downfield. Covering Thornton and other vertical threats could define the tempo of the game, and the defensive backs will have to stay disciplined while still supporting underneath coverage. The running game is another storyline, with Javonte Williams leading the charge for the Raiders against a Cowboys defense that still allows some vulnerability up the middle. Williams has excelled inside, generating impressive yardage per carry, forcing missed tackles, and scoring a high number of touchdowns. The Raiders' interior defense, on paper, hasn't been overwhelmingly dominant, but they have been stingy with yards per carry, making this matchup all the more intriguing. How Dallas handles inside runs, whether through alignment, gap discipline, or rotational schemes, will be a big piece of the puzzle in this game. On the Cowboys side of the ball, Dak Prescott has to perform at a high level. After a few subpar weeks, the offense depends on his ability to read the defense, make quick decisions, and exploit mismatches. Play calling in the red zone will be under scrutiny, and outside of few elite quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Drake May, and a few others, Prescott has consistently been a difference maker in games. Without him at peak form, the offense may struggle to generate the necessary impact to complement the defense. In terms of weapons, Jake Ferguson has been solid, but not explosive. His role in the passing game has been productive, but limited to checkdowns more than creating separation or making defenders miss. CeeDee Lamb, still performing at a high efficiency when he gets the ball, hasn't fully lived up to expectations yet, but he remains a primary threat in the passing game. George Pickens has seen limited production against the Raiders, which makes Lamb even more important. New additions to the Cowboys defense, like Quinnen Williams and Marvin Nova, will be pivotal. Quinnen's deployment on the defensive line could force mismatches against the Raiders' offensive front, potentially opening opportunities for teammates. Marvin Nova's return adds depth and versatility, though he may not reach a full snap count immediately. How these players are rotated and integrated into the game plan will be crucial, especially against an offense with multiple schemes and capable athletes. Looking at the offensive side, the Cowboys line has its work cut out for them. They have to handle the relentless pressure from Max Crosby and the Raiders' edge rushers while giving Prescott the time to make accurate reads downfield. The right tackle situation remains a major question mark. Whether it's Steele, Thomas, or a rotation between the two, the key will be how well they communicate and adjust on the fly. The Cowboys can't afford to leave these linemen isolated against elite pass rushers, especially considering how much attention Crosby attracts from double teams. Protecting Prescott and controlling the pocket is essential to sustaining drives and keeping the Raiders' offense off the field. The passing game has to balance precision with aggression. CeeDee Lamb remains a central piece, and his ability to gain separation and secure the ball will be tested against a Raiders secondary that has been surprisingly efficient beyond their top cornerbacks. Meanwhile, George Pickens and other receivers have to create mismatches, stretch zones, and force defenders to make difficult choices. The quarterback's timing and anticipation are critical, particularly in exploiting any weaknesses in coverage schemes. Prescott must trust his reads, recognize defensive rotations quickly, and distribute the ball effectively to maintain momentum. Running back play will also be crucial. The Cowboys have historically leaned on the inside run game to control the clock and open up play-action opportunities. Efficient gains between the tackles not only sustain drives, but also force the defense to respect multiple options, which could reduce the effectiveness of blitz packages. Establishing the run with a strong interior attack can complement the passing game and create space for receivers on intermediate routes. Balancing carries between running backs while keeping the offensive line consistent will be key to maintaining rhythm. Defensively, the Cowboys are facing a multifaceted Raiders offense that can stretch the field vertically and exploit mismatches at the tight end positions. How Dallas chooses to deploy its personnel in these scenarios is fascinating. Will they roll out 5 defensive linemen to maintain pressure? Will linebackers drop into coverage to take away quick throws? How do they adjust when Brock Bowers lines up in 2 tight end sets, which has been a staple of the Raiders' approach this season? Bowers is particularly dangerous against man coverage, so linebackers and safeties must remain disciplined, keeping leverage while reacting to both run and pass options. The margin for error is slim, and the defensive strategy will be a chess match throughout the game. Deontay Thornton represents another challenge, operating as the Raiders' primary vertical threat. His deep routes can stretch the field, forcing corners and safeties to respect the speed and separation he can create. The Cowboys' back end has struggled against deep passes this season, which means the safeties and corners must maintain focus, avoid miscommunication, and react quickly to route combinations. Giving Thornton too much space could lead to explosive plays and shift momentum in the Raiders' favor. So discipline and anticipation will be as critical as raw speed and coverage. The matchup in the trenches could determine the flow of the game. The Cowboys' defensive line, boosted by the presence of Quinnen Williams and the rotational strategies, including Marvin Nova, aims to disrupt the Raiders' offensive rhythm. Winning individual battles at the line of scrimmage can create opportunities for linebackers and safeties to make plays in coverage. On the other side, the offensive line must sustain blocks long enough to allow Prescott to survey the field and make decisive throws. Every snap is a potential battle, and the cumulative effect of winning or losing these engagements will influence time of possession, scoring opportunities, and the overall control of the game. Personnel matchups extend beyond the line. Tight ends and slot receivers on both sides of the ball create unique coverage and blocking challenges. The Raiders' multiple tight end sets can overload certain areas, forcing the Cowboys to rotate defensive personnel carefully. Conversely, Dallas tight ends have to be effective both in blocking and creating mismatches downfield. Play recognition, communication, and quick adjustments are necessary to prevent blown assignments and open lanes. Every player's ability to adapt on the fly will impact the success of each drive, whether it's sustaining an offensive possession or shutting down a critical third down on defense. Special teams could also play a pivotal role, particularly field position and kickoff coverage. The ability to pin opponents deep or create turnovers in key moments can swing momentum. A well-timed return or a punt inside the 20-yard line could make the difference in a tightly contested game. So attention to these often overlooked aspects is essential. Coaches and players alike must stay disciplined, minimizing penalties and maximizing efficiency in every facet of special teams play. This game is about more than individual talent. It's about execution under pressure. The Cowboys' strategy must integrate both offensive balance and defensive anticipation. From Prescott's decision-making to the defensive line's ability to generate pressure without sacrificing coverage integrity, every element must work together. The Raiders will challenge Dallas in multiple ways: vertically through deep threats, inside with a run game, and through mismatches in personnel packages. How the Cowboys adjust in real time, how they respond to formations, rotations, and on-field adjustments will ultimately dictate whether they control the tempo or react to the opponent's game plan. The stakes are high, and every detail matters. Timing, communication, and discipline are essential on both sides of the ball. The Cowboys' ability to execute in key situations, whether it's maintaining protection for Prescott, winning battles in the trenches, or covering elite tight ends and deep threats, will define the outcome. The rotational players, rookies, and new additions must all contribute effectively, blending their energy with experienced veterans to sustain consistent performance over 4 quarters. Momentum can shift quickly in games like this, and small lapses can be costly. Every throw, every block, every tackle, and every read carries weight. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are swirling around the league after a controversial press conference that has fans and insiders buzzing. A Raiders player, whose name has been tightly held by some media outlets, reportedly took aim at the Cowboys organization in a fiery public statement that seemed to go far beyond the usual locker room banter. Sources close to the team say tensions have been simmering for weeks, but few expected them to boil over in such a dramatic fashion. During the session, the Raiders figure didn't just comment on the upcoming match or recent plays. They allegedly criticized the Cowboys management, questioned the mentality of their roster, and hinted a lack of professionalism behind the scenes. While players often engage in friendly trash talk, the tone of this particular session struck many observers as unusually personal, sparking heated discussions across social media platforms. Fans have speculated endlessly about what could have triggered such an attack, with some insiders suggesting it might stem from past encounters, trade rumors, or off-field disagreements. Adding fuel to the fire, the Raiders' locker room reportedly reacted with a mix of amusement and concern. Some teammates are said to have supported the outspoken stance, while others worry that it could invite scrutiny from the league and escalate an already tense rivalry. Meanwhile, Cowboys players and staff have remained tight-lipped. Those sources hint that private responses and strategic countermoves are quietly underway. Sports talk shows and fan forums are ablaze with debate, with opinions sharply divided. Some argue that the remarks are classic pre-game psychological warfare, a calculated move to unsettle opponents and energize the Raiders fan base. Others worry that the remarks could cross an invisible line, risking fines, suspensions, or long-term damage to league relationships. Amidst the speculation, one thing is clear. The rivalry between the Raiders and the Cowboys has never felt quite so combustible. As insiders continue to trade theories and unnamed sources leak hints about backstage tensions, the football world is watching closely. Will this verbal salvo mark the start of a new chapter in the storied rivalry? Or will it fizzle out as just another headline-grabbing stunt? Whatever happens, one thing is certain. When the Raiders and Cowboys meet on the field, the drama off the field has already set the stage for an unforgettable showdown. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.